to connect with people quickly, if you're visiting tonight, nudge the person next to you because you do need the notes for this. There's a little diagram that I want to go into a little bit. So you go, well, why do I do a lesson on this? Well, for a lot of us, we really want to do great things for God. And that means we've got to have great relationships with other people. It means you've got to have great relationships with other people that you don't already have a great relationship with. They're called strangers. Okay? So I was saying to my Milana earlier, when you're already friends with somebody, it's easy, isn't it? It's great studying the Bible with people, you love it, you get there, you bond with people, everything like that. But the bit of meeting somebody for the first time and then getting them into the Bible study, that's the difficult bit. And one of the misconceptions about the ability to connect with people is that people think it's something that is natural for some people and unnatural for others. And therefore they go, well, I'm just not good at it. Well, maybe you can relate this. I remember before I was a Christian, I would go to a party and I would buy a beer or get a beer and I would stand there and hope somebody talked to me. And invariably they didn't. And 5 hours later, I would go home. That will happen to most people in some situation. Even when I first got into business, I remember going to this lunch that the company had paid for, and I arrived early. It said 1 o'clock. I thought I'd get there at 12:30, and there was no one there. And you go into the room, and there was 800 seats. And I'm like, now I'm intimidated, because I expected it to sort of be going and I could just sort of sneak in. So it was in a Hilton, and I got really frightened. So I went up to the first floor to sort of, because there was a balcony you could look down, and thought, I'll come down when everybody's there, all right? And so I was up there, and then I was a bit bored, and down this corridor I saw this glass door, and I went, oh, I wonder what's down there. And I went down there, and it was a pool and a gym. And somebody came out, and so I went in to have a look. Not realizing that the door closed behind me, you needed one of those tag things to get out. So the lunch was about to start, and here I am banging on this glass door in my suit, and some employee had to let me out. So I'm totally embarrassed now. Everybody sees me. Now, maybe I'm talking about me, but does that sound a little bit like your evangelism? All right, you're sort of standing there hoping somebody at the bus stop is trying to talk to you, or you get into a situation and you're just all freaked out emotionally. Well, it's good to understand that being able to connect with somebody is a teachable skill. In reality, this ability is under your control. It's actually a matter of emotional intelligence, what people call EQ. Emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, control and express one's emotion, and to handle the interpersonal relationships with empathy and real connection. So here I've got the emotional wheel. Okay, so this is, some of you can find on the internet, but I want to take you through it. Just imagine evangelism. Okay, think about evangelism. So in this emotional wheel, you have, do you feel surprised, fearful, angry, happy? So if you don't know what emotion you are trying to have somebody feel, then you're not actually, it's a bit of a hit and miss. So if we look at this, we go, okay, I want the person that I speak to as a stranger to feel happy. Okay, because if you make them feel angry or surprised, and you go down these little checks, they'll be mad, aggressive, or confused, or startled. So if you don't understand, I'm trying to have my first interaction with that person and it be happy. So how do most of you evangelize? You walk up to somebody straight head on and go, excuse me. So what does that feel like? That's aggressive. Okay, so we look at this wheel and get aggressive. That produces an emotion of being provoked and hostile. Is that what you want? No. So in my evangelism, I try and get alongside people. So I try and walk in the same direction. Does that make sense? So as I walk down to church, I walk alongside somebody, and you'll get to a crossing, they're waiting for the beeping, and so you've walked with them, which is a very natural thing. And then I want them to feel happy. So I will look upon their personage about something I connect with. So there was this guy on his backpack, and it said California. I went, "Hey buddy, you from California?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I used to live in California." "Really?" He said, "Where did you live?" All of a sudden, there's a connection there. But if I evangelized him straight up and went, "Hey, I want to talk to you about Jesus." Well, what's that gonna unless somebody goes, "Great, I've been praying for it," okay, which was Wayne, and he's already converted, okay. But you've got to think about it. You've got to produce in somebody an emotion that makes them want to continue down that path. Does that make sense? And we'll talk about this, but if you think about the section, he goes, when you startle somebody and they're surprised, they're going to be startled. They're going to be confused. Unless you're doing something that amazes them, okay, then they're not going to be very positive. But if you say, "Hey, is this your $20? They go, "No." "Oh, okay." And then you start a conversation with them. "You ever found $20? Now they're pretty amazed. So, in other words, when you go out to evangelize, if you don't actually think about how other people are going to react, you know what you're going to have? Failure. They may give you their telephone number, but the emotion that you leave them with will be negative. So how many people here have met people, got telephone numbers, and they never pick up? All right, now you're starting to see why. Okay, you're not actually connecting with them. So in other words, what is the real issue? 1 Corinthians 8:1 says, "But knowledge puffs up, while love builds up." My favourite person to evangelize with was a guy I lived with, was Keith Hansen. So Keith Hansen would just walk around, this was his evangelism style. "All right, mate?" And if they walked past, he didn't evangelize them. And if they went, "Yeah, mate?" And they thought he knew them. Because he went, "Yeah, how's your day, mate? Been good?" "Yeah, pretty good." And they're sitting there going, "Do I know this guy?" And that was it. He was one of the most fruitful people in the church ever. Because he realized that they would actually give him the time of the day. But if people didn't give him the time of the day, they were busy, they were something like this. So you walk around and go, "Right, man? Yeah, how you doing? Good day, right? Yeah. Work all right? Yeah, great. Mine too. Let me tell you about it." And that's all he did. And as a result, he had no persecution, no hassle, and almost you could, I'd evangelize with him and I'd just wait for it, and about 5 minutes later go, "Do I know you, mate?" He'd go, "Well, you do now." But what was the experience? The experience one, there was already a connection. Didn't talk about Jesus go, "Well, why'd you stop me?" "Oh, I stop everybody. If they're friendly, because I'm going to church." And then you've got the platform. But I think we've really got to understand, we work really hard at trying to help people become Christians. But if you don't understand how to connect with people, your effectiveness will be very, very minimal. So we may acquire all the knowledge in the world, but have we learned to connect people so that they feel emotionally loved? That's the real question. You know, a part of loving people is learning how to handle emotional situations, emotional people, and emotional emotions. Right? You ever just got emotional and you go, "I've got time for this." Okay, so you need to learn how to deal with your emotional emotions. 1 Thessalonians 5:4 says, "And we urge you, brothers and sisters, warn those who are idle and disruptive, encourage the disheartened, help the weak, be patient with everybody." So you have to look at somebody and go, okay, what category do they fall into? And therefore, how should I be reacting? So I was really proud of Paul. Yoshi was at church, and I said, "Hey, let's study the Bible." And Paul was like, "No, he's been up since 5 o'clock, he's trying to get this project done, he's all over the place, I just need to help him finish his project." That is Paul going, "I understand this man's emotions, I know his needs, I'm going to connect with him and really love him at this moment in time." But that's how we need to think. Now, understand that each person is different and should be treated as such. So do you evangelize the same way to every individual? You think about that, that's stupid, right? So you go up to a Tongan and you speak to them the same way as you do a Chinaman. What are your expectations? Okay. So if it's somebody and I go, hey buddy, did you see the World Cup rugby? You into the rugby? I'm not going to say that to somebody from Beijing. Okay, and be like, rugby? But honestly, I think we just go out and we go, you know what, I feel good about myself, I evangelized. You're not thinking about the people you're with. People need social connection. It's as fundamental a human need as food, shelter, and water. So understand this. People are looking for friends. Everybody's looking for friends. Everybody's looking for love. That means when you go out and evangelize, when you build friendships, it's guaranteed that people want to be friends with someone. The primary function of your brain, all right, has a part of your brain that when you're hurt physically, it's the same part of that brain you feel emotional pain from. Okay? So, in the same way that pain connects us with people and reacts to us, people feel that emotionally as well. We're hardwired to be social creatures. You know, even the Bible says it's not good for man to be alone. People don't want to be alone. So then the issue is, how do we really connect? If you don't understand this principle, if you're not working at this principle, then you will not be effective in the very thing that you want to be effective in. The other thing is you'll start to feel like nobody's open, the harvest is not plentiful, God is against me, all of those different feelings. Everybody wants great friends. So, point one, why don't we connect to people? Accepting what is the main cause of the issue is just as important as knowing the solution. First, we've got to understand that every person in the world wants and actively seeks to bond with people. Think about how many apps there are for dating. How many apps there are for meeting up with people. Okay, so we've just done our first internet campaign for a push service. A Christmas service is coming up. So I've been learning how to do it. We paid $300 on internet and Google to invite people to our Christmas service. First day, 500 people looked at our invite. And we just did it to people between 18 and 13 students in this area. 500 students want to come to a Christmas service in one day. So you can't tell me that people aren't interested. The only matter is, when they run into you, are they the person, or are you the person that they want to connect with? So really, when they look at you, do they want to be friends with you? So you've got to start understanding the issue. The issue is not them. The issue is you. Thank God. Because if the issue is them, then how do you change it? But if the issue is with you, then you're empowered to change that. Alright? Rarely is the case where someone comes to church or another social event and emotionally decides to harden their heart and not to seek someone out to connect with. They've had the effort of getting up in the morning, coming into your building full of strange people, listening to strange people doing crazy games, okay? They are here to connect. I know when I was looking for a church in Brisbane, we were really seeking good church. I remember going into each church and going, I really hope this is a great church. And being really disappointed when people actually just didn't initiate with me. When you go to a church and there's lots of empty space and you go, I was really hoping somebody would connect with me. The opposite is the norm. They enter and they feel comfortable, meaning they would love the notion of finding a friend. Consider church, the beginning of church and on Sunday. So what I want to bring to your attention is, if you're not there early, then you're missing this issue. If you're turning out, well, church starts at 10, I'll get there at 10, or 10 to 10. What about all of the visitors that come early? And you know why they come early? Because it's their first time coming. You know when you go somewhere new, you go, I don't know where it is, I don't know where the parking is. So they arrive early. And you're all religious, you go, well, I turn up at 10, I tick the box. You should all be there at 9 o'clock. All of you. Waiting to initiate with the people that come through the door. Otherwise, you don't understand what church is about. It's your job to come to church and connect with the visitors. I know when somebody brings their family member, they just have, I hope this person is there early and they get to speak to this person, they get to speak to this person. But the reason why you turn up on time is you become religious. You don't understand, it's about relationship. It is your role to walk into church and connect with people. Even after church, you go, well, I didn't bring anybody, so I'm not studying the Bible with people. Why? You can be the very ideal person that they're looking for. Okay? Because you may have this background or that background. We need to be incredibly welcoming, even after church. Get in there with people, build a relationship. And when they enter, we've got to understand, do they feel comfortable or uncomfortable? Do they feel like, well, I know this person brought me to church, and I am looking for a church, but I really hope that there's somebody from my background. So if you see somebody there, most of us know the members of the church, and you can see that you relate to them because you're from their background, you need to pile in there and go, hey, you look like you're from China. I'm from Guangdong. Can I speak to you? But we've got to make sure that our whole life is about connecting with people. To make this as simple as possible, we're going to sum up all the theories of why we are doing it wrong in one universal sin, and that's selfishness. Proverbs 18:1, an unfriendly person pursues selfish ends, and against all sound judgment starts a quarrel. If we are self-doubting, self-absorbed, insecure, comparing ourselves with others, unconfident, apprehensive, timid, nervous, shy, or prideful, we are ultimately being selfish. Not only that, you're super unattractive. So even in your boundary, I hope you don't mind, you would be interested in God. Well, the answer is I was, but I'm not now. A lack of confidence is something that completely puts people off. Completely. When I like to bound, I go, hey, do you go to church? Yeah? Is it the greatest church in the city? No, then you need to come to mine. Mine is. We're like, really? Why'd you say that? People are great. We look at the Bible the whole time. It grows. We send out mission teams. What does yours do? No? You should come. I'm telling you. You've got to give them a reason to come. If you're just like, we'll go to church. I do, but not with you. But you understand how you've really got, your enthusiasm is a huge, huge thing. All right? If you apologize for being a Christian, why do we apologize? I honestly people go, I hope you don't mind me asking, and just, it's like you've got to be out there. People don't like unfriendly people. So what makes us unfriendly? Thinking about ourselves. Okay? So if you walk up to people like this, and I think something else you've got to figure out is you've got to dress, all right, to connect. So most of it, I remember being in New Zealand, and I was out there for the Women's Day, and the brothers were evangelizing, and it was raining, and they were all in grey, and they were all in hoods, and honestly, I thought they were a gang. And they're like, yeah, bro, we're going out to evangelize. I was like, dang, the Marys are in the house, you know what I'm saying? You need to dress delightful, wear bright clothes. I mean, Mel's a classic example. Hi, want to come to church? You okay? Now, people go, well, wow, sounds like a pretty wild church. But that's what people are looking for. The Bible tells us that we can understand if we're unfriendly if we're being selfish in any way. Some of you may not withhold items from people, but you withhold your emotions. You don't want to connect. You want to get a telephone number and tell your Bible talk leader, I've met somebody. Nowhere in the Bible does it say to do that. Being emotionally selfish is one, if not the primary cause that people lack to build relationships quickly. I don't want to get hurt. I know when we study the Bible with people, we have to be super open, super quick. Let me just tell you my sin. Let me tell you who I was. I used to sleep around and get drunk. I'm not happy about it. I did this. You've got to be vulnerable because then people go, whoa. This guy's not on a high horse. You understand that most religious people sit with people and go, I am super spiritual, you are not, and you better understand that. That is the exact opposite. But we can get really self-righteous and go, whoa, you need to seek God with all your heart immediately. Come to every meeting of the beating the body from now. Like you did. Took you 4 years to become a Christian. When did suddenly you become Jesus overnight? Without your heart and love overflowing from it, you are annoying at best and offensive at worst. And you will gain nothing. 1 Corinthians 13:1, if I speak in the tongues of men or angels, but do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and about faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all the possessions to the poor and give over my body to hardship, that I may boast, do not have love, I am nothing. If the people we are reaching out to do not feel loved, we are achieving nothing. So it's all about making people feel loved. It's all about connecting with people. Hopefully this realization will spur you on to give your whole heart to the person without thought for yourself. What really helps me is everybody I meet, I try and think this guy's going to become one of my very best friends in the whole of my life. I do. I just go, I'm going to make these people the best friend of my entire life. And they could become a leader, and they could be standing next to me by this. And you know what? That's actually how you pull people in. So it doesn't matter whether I'm reaching out to somebody for 10 years. I just go, they're going to become my friend. If they like, Ted said tonight, it's like, if Ted's my friend, and if he needs us to do the garden, we'll go do the garden. If he needs a Christmas present, we'll do a Christmas present. Like, Ted's my friend. Is that how you feel about every single person? It starts in evangelism. I remember when Scotty used to be on University of New South Wales. He used to walk around with a boombox, boom, boom. And I remember he'd just be like, boom, 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 smoke goes, put his arm around someone and go, you're going to become my best friend ever. He'd be like, yeah, you and me, mate, forever. And I used to watch that and I go, you know what, they'd walk away and go, I think I am. Do you know how many people are looking for a best friend? Philippians 2:3. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself. Not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interest of others. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. So when you build a relationship, it's all about them. It's not about you. It's as simple as that. It's all about them. So I was studying the Bible with Maggie brought a guy, Michael. And so he came to church. In our church, I'm trying to sit with people. And 2 people had tried to initiate to study the Bible, etc. And so I saw him when I went over there. And I just talked about him. He's a businessman, and we talked about money, and I talked about that. And he didn't want to study the Bible. So that's, after a time, so that's really interesting. Let me just show you one scripture on that. And I showed him Psalm 119. I said, man, we ought to sit, I wrote a book on money, and we ought to sit around and talk about business, and come over, and Aaron, and come over on Tuesday night, and we'll just hang out. That's how I set up the study. He came over last night, and I thought about, okay, this guy's finishing work. What does this guy want to do? And he's Italian and Greek. So I just said, hey, come over, let's go out for dinner. Let's just go out for Italian. He's like, really? Yeah, let's go. And I just listened to him for an hour. I found out about his family, his parents, his childhood, and everything like that. We went back after about an hour and a half. We did discipleship in 25 minutes. Why? Because he was completely open. But you see how it's about building relationships. It's about connecting. When Jesus said to give up everything, he meant everything. That means everything about you. Simply, when this verse warns us to do nothing out of selfish ambition, it means nothing. It's not about you. It's not about bringing somebody to church, which is selfish ambition. You go, hey, I brought 3 people. And? None of these things are in the Bible. Do you understand? Like there's a stat sheet or something that goes, hey, I'm good because I brought 3 people to church. That's just not in the Bible. If we talk to people in church because we don't want your leader to go, well, Joan saw me looking at getting with somebody at church, where is our heart? We talk to the person we are studying the Bible with to find out an opening, when are they next doing a Bible study? That's not how I think. Of course I want to study the Bible with people. I just want to love people. I want a bunch of friends. You know what friends do? They talk about their interests. I talk about, hey, do you play Risk? No, I've never even heard of Risk. What do you do in your spare time? Well, I do this. And honestly, in the church, we can forget all this stuff. When you text people, what do you text them? I just text them stupid stuff. Memes. This is what normal people do. So my daughter texts us memes about dogs. You know, dogs dancing, dogs doing this on the floor and all this stuff. Some people go, oh, that's what I do with my Bible talk because they're Christians, and then the non-Christians, I just go, here's a church invite. Do you know how weird that is? That's just not normal. Okay, so I'm always trying to, what do you, and I'd ask people, what do you send memes of? I send all sorts of stupid memes. I think about building a relationship with Isaac. Isaac came in with that cowboy hat on. Okay. And when I was in America, we went to Dallas or wherever it was, in Arizona. And you know, you're on a holiday and there's a pair of cowboy boots, and you've got to buy a pair of cowboy boots. And you know, I bought them on holiday. You know, you buy things on holiday that you're never going to wear. I've been carrying them around for 15 years, okay? So he wears that hat, and I'm just connected with Isaac, just, hey, I've got these boots, what size food are you? And then we go, you know, we're talking about leading a Bible talk, and I said, yeah, you would call yourself the Yeehaw Ministry. And he's like, Yeehaw, I like it. Do you know what I'm doing with Isaac? I'm building a relationship with him. I'm connecting with Isaac. Every single human being you've got to try and connect with. Rarely do we solely talk to them and make people feel loved in the church. I think actually in the church is one of the worst places to feel loved, because we become so religious. And then people go, well, I want to go hang out with my mates, not in the church, because we're normal. And I don't know where it comes from, because I certainly don't live like this. But I think it's very easy to become religious. The world becomes religious. If you want to truly build a relationship, you've got to build it with sincere love. Well, what about the person you just don't connect with? Well, here are some tips. So I remember being a Bible talk, and this Ugandan came to Bible talk, and I thought, I've forgotten everything I know about Uganda. So he said it was Uganda, I overheard him, so I went to the toilet and looked up what's happening in Uganda right now. I came back and said, oh, you're Uganda. Oh, I hear there's an election in Uganda. He said, whoa, how do you know that? I said, well, it's on the news and stuff like that. Yeah, tell me about that. Because I wanted to connect with him. But I didn't go in and try and talk about Risk. I wanted to talk about his culture. Okay, we had a Macedonian come over and study the Bible. It's a Macedonian, oh man, Philip the Great and then Alexander and everything like this. He said, I think I've got a Macedonian figurine for my Risk game. And I pulled out, it's got the Macedonian emblem. We went, whoa, you even need to know the emblem. Whoa! We spent, 30 minutes talking about Macedonia. I think about connecting with people by asking advice. Everybody loves to give you advice. Absolutely everybody. Everybody. You go, man, where'd you get those Jordans from? They're pretty cool. They go, oh, I got them in the shops. How much were they? Do you think you can get me a pair? Where can I get a pair? You go, I don't know, mate. You haven't even talked about it. You just connected. You want to ask people into your life. Point 2, body language. Research shows that most people decide whether or not they like you within the first 7 seconds of meeting you. You've got 7 seconds. So if you dress badly, the 7 seconds are from when they see you to when they walk up to you. So you need to think, every time you go out evangelizing, what do you look like? What do you smell like? Seriously, some of us. Have you shaved? Every brother needs to shave or have a beard. That's it. Anything in between, as my sister said, you've either got spots or you're lazy. That's how people think. It's unfair people think like that. That's how people think. Then it says they spend the rest of the conversation internally justifying their initial reaction. So they got to go, this guy, he's an idiot. And then they're looking for you to be an idiot. This might sound terrifying, but knowing this, you can take advantage of it. First impressions are tied intimately to position body language. So if you go up to somebody and you're like, already they're scared of you. Already. If you're like, hey man, how you doing? Open-armed. If you're happy, if you smile, So body language is just as much communication as anything else. When I study the Bible with people, I don't sit on the edge of my seat going. I sit back. Yeah, man, how you doing? I relax them. I chill out. Nice, comfortable couch. Kerry brings in the food. There's lots of nibbles and everything like that. This is cool. The dog jumps on them. All that sort of stuff. And they relax. Confidence shows up in your body language. Nobody wants to study the Bible with somebody that's unconfident. They go, well, you don't even believe it. They may not say that, but they see it in you. People are drawn to confidence and move away from people who show a lack of confidence. I think about, just making sure that you're always on form when you go, I am in the zone. People are watching you the whole time. Bad body language, looking down, shallow breath, avoiding eye contact, touching your nose, your ears, all right, leaning back, doing all that. But honestly, what about this thing? You go and evangelize with someone. You ever done this? You evangelize with someone. You go, let's evangelize together. And you start the conversation, and the other person's like, what the heck is that? Like, who's he? And that's happened a lot. Two options. Either get connected and go, I'm just going to go over here for a second. In other words, engage in the conversation either by jumping in or jumping out. Right. Good body language. Looking forward. Shoulders are back. Speak clearly. I'm going to church. Right? Look people in the eyes. When you study the Bible with people, don't be afraid. So you're doing sin with somebody. Have you been sexually immoral? You've been sexually immoral, have you? What? But honestly, you understand, people want to connect with you. A firm handshake, smiling, nodding in agreement, connecting. I think about a handshake. A handshake is really important. Physical contact is really important. Don't be afraid of physical contact. People will tell you if they don't like it. Most people like physical contact. In sales, they always say, if you want to close a deal, put your hand on the client's shoulder. Whoa. So so if you're trying to sign a deal, you go, here's a pen, and you put your hand on their shoulder, and it makes them feel warm. So if the salespeople know it, why are we afraid of physical contact? At church, sometimes I feel a bit awkward because I don't know if somebody is like a Christian or a non-Christian, or you go to a conference. So I just go, hey, I'm a hugger, give us a hug. Just gets them over their way. It's not their fault. You go. But I can tell you this, people that are not friendly to you physically, it's like people that come in the house and they don't like an animal. Nearly always there's something wrong with their heart. I'm not talking about if you're African and Nigerian and being chased by dogs down the road. There are exceptions, I know. Poor John came to my house and this went, whoop, he ran down the platform. I'm talking about in general. That makes sense. Okay. It goes the other way around. Our dog sees a Tongan and runs the other way. I think about, there is also a body language when you are on the phone. Did you know that? Okay, so when I was learning sales, they say you need to stand up when you're on the phone, and I used to have a smiley face. And I went, nah, this is rubbish. And then I'd make the phone call, I'd stand up and go, hi, how are you? It's actually an alertness. So think about where you do your follow-up. Because when you get hold of something, you go, hey, how are you? Now the next thing you say is going to grab their attention or not. So you go, hey, how are you? You know what? I'm having a great day. I'm at Aruba Beach. I'm looking at the whales, the dolphins. It is a good day. What are you doing? Nothing much. So where you are has an impact when you phone people. Okay, you've got to get into a good mood. You've got to smile. People can tell if you are smiling on the phone. I can tell if somebody's sitting down when I'm talking to them and whether they're happy. You can absolutely tell that. I think about mirroring, understanding this. 1 Corinthians 9:19. Though I am free and belong to no one, I've made myself a slave to everyone, to win as many as possible. To the Jews I became like a Jew, to win the Jews. To those on the law I became one like under the law, though I myself was not under the law, so as to win those who are under the law. To those not having the law, I became like one not having the law, though I am not free from God's law, but I'm under Christ's law. So as to win those who not having the law. To the weak I became weak, to win the weak. I become all things to all people, so that by all possible means I might have saved some. Apostle Paul's going, man, I'm trying to relate to everybody. Absolutely everybody. I'm trying to become like them. I'm not trying to make them like me. So another successful tool when it comes to body language is the technique of mirroring. In other words, you imitate what they are doing. So if you'll notice this, if somebody sits down, you automatically want to sit down with them. Okay? You can try this one. If you're bored of a conversation, you know what everybody does? It's actually a natural thing that happens. But it's a way of bonding. It's very, very powerful if you do what they do. So if somebody sits on the edge of the seat to connect with you, be aware of it and sit on the edge of your seat. Okay? I think about smiling. You've got to understand, if you smile, go, hey, how you doing? You happy? Okay. Yeah. Does that make sense? You think about Facebook. People put happy pictures on Facebook, so what do you feel like is the only thing you're allowed to put on Facebook? Happy photos. But most people are miserable. That's called mirroring. There's a social acceptance. All right? Next time you are around your interest in the kingdom, all right, try and take notice if you start to imitate their mannerisms or facial expressions. You absolutely do. Honestly, you have a brother who walk in, he's miserable. Sees his favourite sister, she's fired up, like this. Then all of a sudden you see them catch around like, hey, how was your day? That's exactly what happens. And the opposite is true. Now, before you go out and try and freak every guest out, okay, don't mimic everything. Okay, so they did that, okay. Don't be weird, understand the principle. Alright? So a few tips on this. Hand gestures, facial experience, spinal alignment, as in do they sit up straight or do they go back? Pace. It's great if you walk alongside people. I like walking from Broadway down to the city, and I'll try and evangelize the people alongside. But if somebody's marching like this, I'm not going to go, hello, you want to go to church? I'm looking for the guy that's going. I will go, I don't go. Alright? But I'm trying to get alongside people. Match their energy level. Okay? So you don't want to be a guy that's eating too much sugar when somebody's just come out of the gym. If the guy comes out of the gym, have a cup of coffee, and you're like, Alright, understand you're trying to be where they're at. Voice qualities, mirror their volume. Okay, so if somebody's a little bit, softly spoken, like Bonnie, you don't go, what? What do you say? Okay? So, but you understand, these are the things that make people connect or not connect. You're laughing at them. You know why you're laughing at them? You know them to be true. Language. Speak the same language. I'm not talking like English and French, but use the same phrases. So I've been around the world a lot, but if I meet an Englishman, they're like, oh, son, how are you? I go, not too bad. How are you? And they're like, you English? Yeah, I am actually. I love it. I haven't done it yet, but I love it when, Keanu gets up here and tries his 3 words of Chinese. All right? And what are the Chinese things? Man, I'm impressed. I appreciate him connecting. So you've got to get on their level. All right? Use the same phrases. Try and talk about the same things. Be happy. There are 3 states of happiness. A pleasurable life which is based on external stimuli bringing you pleasure. In other words, at this moment, I'm eating cookies and I'm happy about eating cookies. There's the good life based on intimate, personal and family relationships that bring you pleasure. I'm in a good emotional state. And then a meaningful life. So when you talk to people saying, are you happy? Yeah, I'm pretty happy. Great. You good health, etc. Great. All right. You've got good relationships. I really appreciate that. I'm looking for friends that have good relationships. What's the meaning of your life? What are you trying to achieve? Find something to connect with people on. You know, it's a really interesting thing. You said at your age, I haven't got a clue what I wanted to do. Have you ever really thought about it? You know, not only people are drawn to happiness, but it's also a sign of strength. People are looking to be friends with happy people. Nehemiah 8:10 says, do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. If you are miserable as a Christian and go around complaining, not only are you very close to leaving God, but then you'll get into this sort of the circular thing is, I'm unhappy, therefore I'm ineffective. Therefore I'm unhappy, therefore I'm ineffective. Therefore I'm unhappy, therefore I'm ineffective. That's what happens. You have to figure out what is not making you happy, and you've got to sort it out. Whatever that is. Some it's a little bit deeper, and some it's just gratitude. Being moody doesn't help you or anybody you're reaching out to. You think about a magnet. Negatives and a negative do what? Push each other away. Alright? So if you are negative, then you're just going to push people away. Disciples are happy positives that attract negatives from the world and make them positives. Romans 12:11, never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. You know, I appreciate James. I'm training James up in the ministry. He said, I just want a double portion of your spirit. You're just always fired up. I said, well, let's try a single portion of the spirit first, mate. But here's the thing. If you banter and you are happy, people want to be around you. Your life should be full of joking. We have shepherds on Monday night. We're just howling with laughter. Absolutely. Oh, it's a really serious. You're in the shepherds. We're talking about all the problems in the church. We just howl with laughter. Not at you, okay? Just about that. I don't want the shepherds to come to that meeting and go, man, it's Monday night again. Oh, okay, we'll get into it. Remember people's view of Jesus, Luke 7:34. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and you say, here is a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. That's how people view Jesus. This happy guy that was pretty much nearly drunk the whole time and hanging out with the naughty boys. Not some religious dude, okay, that was just talking about Jesus the whole time, and God and God and God. He was just hanging out with the guys. Third point, be an active listener. It feels like 90% of the work we do in the kingdom has to do with communication, right? Whether that be in a Bible study, preaching, simply chatting to someone, we need to become experts at communication. Funny thing is, the first thing we need to know how to do is to shut up. Keep quiet and listen. If you don't do that, if a Bible study takes a long time, it's not because you're talking too much. Becoming an active listener is vital to communication skills. The Bible is peppered with this advice throughout its text. James 1:19. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Proverbs 17:28. Even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he is deemed intelligent. Proverbs 29:11. A fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back. You know, there's a study which shows that when you're in a conversation, on average, every 17 seconds within a conversation, you want to interrupt. I was in a deep counselling session last night, and I knew it was going to be a long one, and it was. And I just had to tell myself, just shut up, shut up. I know what he's going to say is going to be hurtful. Just shut up, just be quiet, just shut up. And I prepared myself that it was going to be a long one. It went into the night. But I knew that this person needed me to listen in order to hear. This is something that you really have to be aware of and teach yourself. I use all sorts of things like, pinch my fingernail, I do this, or I have a piece of paper next to me going, shut up, okay? Or I have a watch or a clock next to me and go, I need to listen for half an hour before I say something. In other words, you've really got to train yourself to do it. A practical in becoming an active listener is an easy equation. Repeat plus personal statement plus question. So I did this last night without even knowing it. I said, so help me understand. What you're saying is this. Is that correct? Okay, so you're saying this. Can I ask you then what else you are feeling? So it not only helped me listen and give them the opportunity to correct me, but it made them feel that I was genuinely listening. Plainly, when you are listening to a speaker, after they are done with their thought, first repeat what you understood, not word for word, and connect. Then follow up with a personal statement about that information. For example, in a short conversation you might play out, it says, so the first person goes, I went to work today and had lunch by the park near my job. Then you would say, work and lunch. Wow, sounds great. I wish I had a park by my work. So you're connecting and you're telling them that you've actually listened. So you may need to do this a couple of times throughout the conversation, but to make sure that you're not getting distracted as well. You know, when somebody just talks and talks and talks, you go, I know I should listen, but my brain's off with the fairies. They know that. They know that. So you have to do it to keep engaged. Find common ground. Try and connect with people on their terms. Ask about family, occupation, recreation. Also be careful when people come into the church. If you go, well, hey, what university are you at? What are you doing? They've just been asked that by 5 other Christians. So you need to go, tell me why you've chosen the course that you've chosen. What made you do that? Why did you come to Australia? Why did you pick Sydney? Go a little bit deeper. With family, ask them about their family and write down who their family members are. Be interested in them genuinely. What do you do for fun? Okay. What do you do with the spare time? Or I go, if you had $1,000 and a free day where you had to spend it, what would you do with it? You've got to learn to have great questions. Right? Do your best to connect with that person. And if you fail to do it, find someone in the church that can connect with them. So if you know there's a Botswanan coming to church who's your friend, phone Tira up. Say, Tira, mate, I need you tomorrow. Got a Botswanan coming. And you go, hey, here's my Botswanan friend. And if they just talk the whole time, that's fine by me. Focus on developing natural interest in people, finding ways to validate and add value to them. People are naturally attracted to people who make them feel good around themselves. So compliment them. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Why do you do that? Within these conversations, find something that you can learn from them. So I love doing this. I just love learning. But this guy Michael last night, he's half Greek and he's half Italian. And so I said, well, tell me about when you went to Italy. Which one did you prefer, Greek or Italy? About your food. Well, how do you cook that? Well, how do you do that? And he started teaching me. Half an hour later, I know how to cook a moussaka. Okay, you're like, wow. And he's going like, and then at the end, I text him, hey, I really appreciate our conversation. Thanks for teaching me how to make a moussaka. He goes, yeah, I forgot I did that. Okay, we need to cook one day. Real connection. Have deep conversations. Learn to get deep. Ask the questions. Here are just a few quick suggestions. I want to get to know you more. I want to know what your views are of the world today. You should be looking at the news. Okay? If you're speaking to anybody that you think is from the Middle East, you can talk about, man, it's really sad about what's happening in the Middle East. How do you feel about that? There'll be some opinions. Now, don't give them an opinion back, okay, because it's a hot topic. But how do you feel about that? I'm interested, every Taiwanese person I go, what is your view of the political situation in Taiwan and China? Everybody has an opinion on it. Everybody has an opinion on it. When I talk to Chinese, I go, hey, tell me about the hot pot in your region. Do you think it's the best? I go, yeah, mine's by far the best. But connect with people. Think about what are your hurts, fears, and disappointments. What is your relationship with God like? What bothers you in life? What in your life gives you the most pain, and what are you doing about it? Deep questions. There are scriptures that come to mind when you have these kinds of conversations. Proverbs 12:18. There is one whose rash words are like a sword thrust, but the tongue of the wise bring healing. So you've got to understand every conversation you have will either push somebody away from you or pull somebody in. So every time you have a phone call with somebody, you're following up with somebody, ask yourself, did you pull them in or did you push them away? Did you say, what is it that I can pray for you for? And then genuinely pray for it. When they open up, it is vital, it is essential not to take advantage of their openness. You ever done this? You've open up to somebody, you go, I know JT, I really struggle to like you, but I'm really working on my life. And then JT a week later goes, well, I know you don't like me. well, now I don't ever want to share anything with you ever again. That's true. So you never use what people share with you against them. You don't have the right to do that. Okay? You can pray for it. You can help them, but never throw it back in their face. Conclusion. Why don't we connect with people? The truth is because we don't want to. We are emotionally lazy. You can, but you've got to learn the skill. You've got to understand your body language. You've got to include people with you physically. And you've got to be an active listener. Connecting with people is not only part of our human survival, it's the most important thing when it comes to salvation. I can tell you, if I don't have a relationship with somebody in the church and they get weak, I can't rescue them. I may know them, but if I've not had them over, I've not had an emotional connection, and that's the first time I get them, they are not going to listen to me. That's the same for you. Don't think it's just my job to connect with everybody in the church. You connect with everybody in the church. Learn to love people, their differences. I love learning about different cultures. It's just amazing. That's what going on dates, for me, was just amazing. I go on a date with a Ghanaian and I eat fufu and couscous, and I go on a date with a Chinese person and I eat hot pot and then pork buns from the Samoans. I'm like, man, I've been to every restaurant in the world. Enjoy it. Give yourself. I want to be more Chinese than a Chinaman. And to be honest, I much want to know more about Chinese history than most Chinamen. I want to know be more African than an African. I want to be more American than American. And truly, before I moved to America, I absolutely knew more American history than nearly everybody in America I ever met. And I want to be more Australian than an Australian. Well, I don't know about that, actually. Okay, that's where I draw the line. My Christians comes in. Okay, all right, okay. I married one, she'll help me out. Okay, all right. But the only person I don't want to be like is me. Because there's only one of me, and there's nobody else, so why do I bother trying to relate to myself? It's of no use to me. All I want to do is relate to other people. You know, one of the best ways to finish off and do this is to have quiet times with lots of different people in your ministry. Because it forces you to listen to them. All right? Because it's very rude if you interrupt somebody else's prayer. Okay? All right? Just if you didn't know that. Okay. But actually, if you just listen, you'll start to understand their life, their character, and their culture. So my challenge for you today is in the next 7 days, pray with somebody from a different nationality and learn about that nationality. And that's the lesson.